It's a Thursday with Thompson and SNJ today's locker room host. Pete Thompson joins us for our Tuesday chat. PT, the Flyers goal horn, we're going to be hearing a lot of those this year as the Flyers back in action tonight. I'm sure that you are ecstatic about it.
I got it all lined up. I'm ecstatic. I'm all set for my dining choices. You know, I got steak and potatoes for dinner. 7:30 the puck drops at Amalie Arena down there in Tampa. I am fired up. I'm ready to go. I don't know. Josh didn't tell me. Am I eligible to win these tickets? No, not that.
I can't imagine you being caller 10 if you're on the phone right now. I can't imagine you being caller 10 if you're talking to me right now.
Well, yeah, but I thought maybe we could work out a side deal. No, I mean, I'll tell you what, I hope we hear the horn a lot. I'm not as optimistic as I was maybe, say, when Hackstall got hired, but I think they're going to have a hard time making the playoffs, to be honest with you. I hate to be the one that burst the bubble, but they're not that much different than they were last year.
Yeah, and we talked to Coachy earlier. He kind of gave us a similar indication. Dave Isaac said he'd be surprised if they made the playoffs. You know, they were close to making the playoffs last year. And one of the reasons Coachy said that he thinks they could make a playoff run is the goaltender, Pete. He thinks that Mason has developed that much more.
I think Steve Mason's he's great, and I think that he's a guy that can steal you a win or two, and I think that you're going to end up in a situation, as backup is certainly more improved as well, not to knock Ray Emery, because Razor is a heck of a hockey player, but he wasn't 100% last year. So to know that you have Michael Niver sitting behind you and a guy that's a reliable backup as opposed to, is his hip going to be needed to pop back into place? You know, in hockey they never talk about the injuries, but I think that Steve Mason has a good backup now. He's coming into his own. You know, he was a big reason why they did almost make the playoffs last year, as he quote-unquote stole some hockey games for him. I just see a lot of holes, though, on the offensive side. And to start with that first question you asked me about, well, the horn line up, you know, I think that Jake Voracek had a career season last year. Can he repeat that? Claude Giroux disappears at times for being the quote-unquote best player in the world, as Peter Laviolette called him once upon a time, and Wayne Simmons. But even though if you want to knock those guys, those are the three studs, you know, those are the three big names. But when you look at the guys that need to improve, Braden Shea, you know, show up, man. Come on now. R.J. Umberger had an awful year, and he'll be the first to tell you that last year. There's guys in the lineup that, you know, I'm very concerned about the fact that Sean Couturier is the second-line center. He's center in Simmons' line. He's not a second-line center. He's been known through his career as the shutdown guy, the defensive guy, and he's all the way up on the second line. So that kind of tells you sort of how handcuffed the Flyers are with the ability to get talent onto the ice. But, again, I hope I'm the party pooper and I'm Dr. Negative, and they come out and they look really well tonight.
Well, they had a tough one tonight playing the Eastern Conference defending champion Tampa Bay Lightning. They've always seemed like they've struggled against the Lightning. That game's at 7:30 tonight on 97.3 ESPN. And on our sister station, WPG Talk Radio 1450, whenever there is a conflict with Sixers or NFL, the games will always be on 1450. And every night that we have the ability to carry the Flyers, you'll be able to hear them here. So if you don't hear them when there is a game, you flip over to our sister station. But tonight we'll both have that game on, so depending on where you are, you'll be able to find that game on 97.3 ESPN or 1450, where your buddy Coachy was on earlier today. And one thing he also talked about, PT, was, the fact that he thought that defensively that they were better. The fact that they, waived McDonald and sent him to the minors, even though he signed that contract, was a clear indication that they have gotten better on defense, because they were able to say, look, I don't care that you're getting paid that money. We've got better talent, and we're going to do something about it.
Yeah, it really shocked the dressing room. I mean, it shocked a lot of people. It shocked people inside Comcast and people that cover the team on a regular basis. You see a guy with a big salary cap number like that, and, it surprised Andrew McDonald the most, but Brandon Manning's 25 years old, and he was an undrafted free agent, and he makes the team ahead of Andrew McDonald. Then, if you almost broke it down, too, they just didn't want to send Scott Lawton back to the minors again, because they thought that he deserved to be up. But the one surprise tonight, and, I don't mean to rip on both Shen brothers in one phone call, but boy, Luke Shen drives me crazy. There's been if there's been a worse Flyers trade in the last 6 or 8 years, I don't think you could find it when you look at the numbers that James Van Riemsdyk put up in Toronto and how he's been since he left South Philadelphia and how Luke Schenn has been since he's been in South Philadelphia. So I was surprised that Radko Gudas is scratched tonight. Radko Gudas, the former Lightning player that we got in exchange for Coburn, he's on the bench, and Schenn is in the lineup. He'll be on that second pairing with Yevgeny Medvedev. So I just I'd like to see Luke Schenn step up as well. And it was a surprise, but it just goes to show you that the talent level is a little bit more improved, and I hope they make a run. I'm a huge fan. You know that.
I know. I know you are. I know you are. It's almost like we could have Pete Thompson, SNJ Today, Flyers expert, insider. I mean, that's what your passion is. And, I know a lot of people, think this Flyers team is just not good enough yet. But we'll see. And it's a little disconcerting because you're a positive person there, PT. And for you to say you don't think they're a playoff team, I think that gives you the indication of what the real story is.
Yeah, and I ought to tell you, but there could be some brief bursts of greatness. You mentioned that Kimmo Timonen night for the tickets they're giving away. Do they match up with an elite team like the Blackhawks? Maybe not, but can they come out on the emotion of a pregame ceremony where they put Kimmo's number up in the Flyers Hall of Fame? Well, then maybe they win a period there, and then Mason wins you the second, and then you got a whole different situation. Maybe you steal one. That's kind of the way I think a lot of the season's going to go.
And by the way, that's Brendan Joyce from Marmora who won those tickets. So, Pete, those tickets will not be yours, but Brendan Joyce got a pair of tickets to that game. We'll have another pair of Flyers tickets next Thursday. And, PT, I can tell you what those Flyers tickets are going to be, actually. I know them ahead of time, the tickets that you're playing for, but I'll keep that to myself because, the people are going to have to listen to find out. And but I'll tell you, right? I'll text it to you, right? You got that inside info.
Right. Well, I think, no matter what, the fact that you guys have the relationship with the Flyers now, again, like you said, all the games are on 1450 no matter what, and then most of the games will be on 97.3. Boy, that's just great. I'll do everything I can to spread the word to as many people as I walk in, run into that, Flyers back, what do you think? Well, make sure you're listening on the radio.
Well, I thought it was neat, too. We had Coatsy on earlier, and he said that he was listening to our show on Tuesday, and I thought that right there shows you it was pretty cool. That he's down here just kind of listening in, and the Flyers family knows that is a very tight knit group, so to be a part of that is really cool. And that starts tonight when they take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, PT. I know SNJ Today, the locker room Saturday night 7:00 to 7:30 on 789 or WACP Channel 4 for Comcast Cable. You guys bringing the cameras all over. It was a wet and wild weekend. I saw you over in Egg Harbor Township last week, and I know listening to you on the postgame show, you added virtually nothing on that postgame show last week, and I would have to assume because you were about as irritatedly wet as I was.
I was a drowned rat, man. I was just not happy, and not a small rat, like a rat like the unions would use if they were striking, like the giant inflatable rat. That was basically what I was. I was so disgusted with how wet and uncomfortable I was. The Pleasantville game was worse than the Egg Harbor Township game, but thankfully...
I find that hard to believe.
Well, because of your call, and we were able to listen in the car on the way over from Pleasantville to AHT, because of that, I knew that I wasn't going to make the hike up to the press box, because even if we got up there and even if we found some spots maybe standing behind you, you said, you had to reach out and wipe the window every so often, or it was all fogged up. And, the worst thing to do would be to shoot highlights if you can't see anything. So, I kind of MacGyvered it and did the best I could, but I'm crossing my fingers. They say there's a chance of weather tomorrow night. I'm crossing my fingers that that's not the case. But I don't have great games tomorrow. I've got Ocean City. I started Egg Harbor Township, so winless Ocean City at EHT. And, I'm not Jimmy the Greek, but you got to believe that the Silver Eagles are going to open a can of you-know-what because they're mad that they lost to Absegami last week. And then I'm bouncing over to Oak Crest. And tomorrow night is their Hall of Fame, their Athletic Hall of Fame thing. So they
nice.
Off back a little bit. So that's a 7:30 start instead of a 7 o'clock start. Those are my two games, and I know around the Cape, there's, let's see here, there's 8 games split across the 2 days. But we've got 30 games on the schedule again. So if you've been watching the show, you know that we're everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah, that's Saturday nights for the Locker Room with Pete and Mike Frankel. And by the way, Mike Frankel will be hosting the South Jersey Sports Report this Saturday. Dave O'Sullivan's got a wedding, so Mike will be jumping back in the hosting chair. So listen for him Saturday morning from 8 to 10. And, of course, and then Saturday night you'll see Pete and Mike doing the Locker Room from 7 to 7:30 on 789 is where I check you guys out. For those of you who are high-def illiterate, that would be Channel 4 on the Comcast. Check your local listings for other sites. But for those of you listening out there, Pete, you were at NBC 40. This is a much wider and bigger signal. It covers much more viewers.
Yeah, and that's why it's a blessing and a curse. People are like, well, what channel is it? And then I always, you hate to answer a question with a question, but they'll say, well, what channel is it? And I say, well, where do you live? Because it's 4 in Cape May County and Cumberland County. It's either 26 or 789 to most of the Atlantic County audience that probably knew TV 40 the best. But then it gets up into Camden County, Gloucester County, Salem County. And you look at some of these games, Mike's covering the Pittman game, for example. He's covering St. Augustine. He's going to try to cover Hamilton and Clearview. He's trying to do 3 games. We got a shooter that's going to Woodstown. We got a shooter that's going to Cherokee. We got a lot of games. We're all over the place. So
and by the way, people don't forget that St. Joe is going out of state this week. That's the weekend they're going down to Maryland. So that St. Joe game's out of state this week. You get some other games. Friday night we'll have Ocean City and Egg Harbor Township on 97.3 and 1450. Our game was supposed to be Holy Spirit and Buna. That game got moved to Saturday. So for the first time in a long, long time, PT, I got a Friday night off. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm like going crazy over here. Woohoo! All right, but I know what I'm not going to do. Yeah, I know what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to be hanging out with you.
Come
Sorry,
hold
bud.
The umbrella. Come hold the umbrella. I'll be there.
All right, I know what you'll be doing tonight. Flyers and Lightning, and you can hear the game on 97.3. Pete Thompson, SNJ today, 789 on Comcast HD. Saturday nights at 7 o'clock for all your high school football recaps. All right, man, we'll be watching.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Mike. Have a good one.